welcome to Battle Streams of Middle-earth and welcome to Damian's Hobby Vlog number something or other. Honestly, I don't have a clue which one this is. At the time of recording, I think there are still 7 vlogs that I need to get edited before you see this one, so I truly don't know, but hopefully some point throughout this year I'm going to catch up and work out what number this was. Probably something around 50 or something, who knows. So yes, indeed, welcome my friends, one and all, to Battle Streams of Middle-earth. I initially set up this channel to help people clear their backlog. The idea was that we would all come together and hang out, and painting is fun, and we would help people try and clear through the mountain of opportunity they have. And we do that in 2 ways. One of them, every few weeks we have a live stream here. And you can check that out in our live tab where we go through D'Agostini's part work, Battle Games Middle-earth, and we kind of paint, all hang out and paint purely for the love of the hobby around a certain theme, which is super fun. The other way we do it is through my hobby vlogs, where I am trying to track my own hobby journey every year to reduce my backlog and kind of keep myself accountable for the things I buy and so on. And that's what this is. Time for a mildly rambling update, so settle down, grab your cup of tea. It's been a strange old year for me. At the time of recording, to give you some context, it is June the 9th, and over the last 3 months I've painted 6 models. It's been a kind of weird time where I haven't done that. One of those is a fell beast, to be fair, so that probably doesn't count as one, but Gimli would disagree, of course. But I've also, we've done issue 17 of SBG magazine, and I ran 7 Stones with Tom again. So I've been doing lots of things. I've actually been feeling pretty good about the hobby, but painting itself just hasn't been happening for me. And, I should have prepared one of these earlier. My Hill Tribesmen are still on their handles, and they're probably getting quite dusty. These are the Hill Tribesmen. I believe I started painting in February. They were meant to be painted in February or March, and they have had no more progress on them whatsoever. I've done the heroes, but the warriors themselves just aren't happening for whatever reason. And so I was, I've been super busy at work. I've had the hardest semester I've ever had, most teaching I've ever done at university. But I'm through that now, and we're into the summer. So I was thinking, okay, finally, I get some time. I don't get holidays, but I get to take my leave basically this time. So this is basically June and January are the only times in the year that I get to actually take academic leave when I can do some hobby. Potentially, so I was like, right, I've got to make the most of this. And so my plan was to basically take a couple of days off and paint my Hill Tribesmen and try and kind of catch up on those numbers for the years in a kind of intense session. And the goal for that was Warhammer World Doubles, which I am delighted to be returning to with my good friend Adam. Me and Adam have been to every Warhammer World Doubles tournament since they brought it back after the Middle-earth team formed, which I think was 2017, except last year when the devious buggers at Warhammer World scheduled it, obviously accidentally, in all honesty, on the same weekend as 7 Stones. So we couldn't go last year, and that was particularly annoying because we won it the year before. Woo! So we wanted to go and defend our titles, but we couldn't because I had to run 7 Stones. So tragically, it's been 2 years since I've been to doubles with Adam, but I was delighted that this year it was scheduled not on the same week as 7 Stones. So Trokenbyrne gets to ride to war once more, kind of defending our title basically, because we haven't lost it, That's quite exciting. And we knocked about ideas at the start of the year, and neither of us were keen to kind of paint up a whole new project just for it, because I was working on the Hill Tribes. Was like, well, let's do this, and Adam was up for that. I was like, yeah, that's cool. So we'll do something. We were going to do Usurpers Veterus, I think. And suddenly, if you're keeping up, as it was the 9th of June, doubles is 5 weeks ago, and about a week ago I rang Adam and I was like, right, okay, 7 Stones is done, turning my attention to doubles. Are we still doing Hill Tribes? And I was basically like, I reckon if I really knuckle down I can do these 24 Hill Tribes guys, if you can do the kind of Thorn and the Rohirrim. And he was like, yeah, I think we'll be able to. And we were both like, but it's quite a lot of stress, and particularly me, I've had a lot of stress at work, and it's like, I don't really want stress in my hobby at this point. That's for, sorry, the skulls, that's for November. But I was like, I'm equally fine to do something else. And timing wise, as I said, you're going to see this, God knows, frankly, in months and months and months. But this phone call happened just after Armies of Middle-earth was finally released. So right now, We're on a Monday, and it went up for pre-order like 8 days ago, so it's going to be released in about 5 days' time. So we're right in the middle of the excitement of the book finally coming out with all new things. And I basically said to Adam, equally, if you've got something else that you're happy to do that's completely different, that doesn't require us to do anything, any big hobby, I'm fine with that. And then I've been really excited since I got this book, which is Armies of the Lord of the Rings. I'm not going to lie, possibly one of the series I've been most excited, or armies I've been most excited to try, was the Shire. Anyone who's has followed my vlog, you know what I did with Throne of Skulls last year. I built the whole Bilbo's birthday party board, and they basically released an army list based around Bilbo's birthday party, which is mega. This is specific, you know, Gandalf gets extra rules for his fireworks, Bilbo has the ring instead of Frodo. It's the birthday party army list is the Shire now, which is super cool. And I just basically said to Adam, I was like, on the other hand, if you want, I've been itching to try this. We now have armies of Middle-earth, so militia, archers and sheriffs are back in, as are Will Whitfoot, Folko Boffin, Rosie, oh no, Rosie's in this book, and like Tolman Cotton, and all those guys, all the other named characters are back. I was like, if you want to do no hobby, I'd be quite up for just bringing my birthday party army again and trying out this list, which I don't think it's top table, but spoilers, I think might be a bit of a sleeper good list. Don't know. It's significantly better than it was in the last edition, and I managed to win 3 out of 5 games with it, Throne of Skulls, in the last edition. Mind you, I also lost 7 out of 7 games at Ardacon with it, so maybe it's not that great. Who knows? And Adam loves Hobbits. Adam wrote the very first Scarron and the Shire supplement. He adores Hobbits. I love Hobbits. And then we started chatting about kind of, oh, and do you know what else? You know, if we did that, I'd bring the board again along. It gives me a great opportunity to bring my board along again, which I'm really excited about. You know, I'd make this board, put blood, sweat and tears into it last year. And then of course it sits in a cupboard, it's just in there. I don't know if you might be able to see the bottom of it down there somewhere. But and it never does anything. It sits at the back of the cupboard and you don't turn the lights on and all that. And I haven't played with the most of the models, or any of the models really, since the league finale, because I haven't been able to, because the profiles haven't been out. And then Adam was like, yes, 100 times yes, this sounds awesome. So that became my new project, and then we started, I think we're going to do some fancy dress for it as well, different fancy dress. I'm not going as still here actually, like, oh, the old fireworks suit isn't coming out again. Slightly more rational fancy dress, but and we just sort of thought, yeah, this will be cool. This is like a bit of us. This is what we'll do. Now the cool thing about this is I don't have to do any hobby. I do have to do one bit of hobby. I have to paint Folko Boffin. Folko got uninvited to the party at the last minute, as some of you remember. I have to paint him, but I don't have to do any more hobby. Everything's sort of sorted back there, but in one of those vlogs, I don't know which one it was, in one of those Hobbit vlogs, the Throne of Skulls, Journey to Throne of Skulls vlog, I mentioned at the end that wasn't it for the Shire. I mentioned that as much as the Throne of Skulls project was finished, I would be returning to the Shire at some point in the future with 1 or 2 videos, and that's because I had models left over. And so, whilst the Hill Tribes have clearly, they're just not making me paint, I got so excited about this idea of Adam and painting hobbits that I was like, right, let's just change tack entirely. I'm gonna get stuck back into the Shire stuff and try and do that video and try and motivate my paintbrush that way. So that was the plan. And so I've got a return of an old friend. It's my Shire box, the good old No Admittance on Party Business book. So I talked about this a lot in the vlogs for Throne of Skulls. So you can go back and watch those if you want to know its history, but it was a box that had all my Shire stuff in it 5 years ago basically, and I've gradually worked my way through it and I'm getting there, but there's a few bits left. And so inside here now I've got I've still got the Scarron and the Shire set. We're not touching that just yet. And then what I've got is little bags of like Hobbits, a few spare Hobbits that are left, and different bags of Hobbits that are left, and mutilated Hobbits. And I've also got like bits, like kind of resin bits basically, and I've also got a bunch of bits of Hobbit conversion potential, like the Tom Rillian stuff I talked about a lot. So I've got like books and barrels and all that sort of stuff. And so basically in here, after the Throne of Skulls project, I had, I think it's about 13 or 15 mutilated Hobbits. There were 13 bits of Hobbit that had been left behind, and I didn't need them for Throne Skulls, and I didn't have time to go and sort them out for Throne Skulls, but I was always like, well, what I'm going to do is try my best to make another 15 Hobbits out of those bits, to basically see how many can be salvaged before they get deleted from my backlog as unpainted models and just get added to the bits box or whatever. And that's what I'm going to do in this vlog. I'm going to dig through this, and I'm going to try and get some cool new conversions, kind of themed around the party. They're not all going to be musical instruments and cake bearers, but they're going to kind of be Hobbits hanging out, not with weapons, basically, to some more militia conversions, basically. And I'm going to do all of those, and then I'm going to try and paint them to take them to Throne Skulls doubles with me. And so what this will do will help clear the backlog, and then when we take that army on that army board, the idea will be I'll have some new Hobbits on it as well, some new conversions and all that sort of thing. So that's the plan, basically. Now, there was a vlog, I should have checked what number it was, but I didn't, apologies, probably about 39 or something, where I followed the process of converting my my Hobbits last time, and went through it in some detail, and it seemed really popular, and so I'm going to do that again. So what I knew I had to do first was sit down for a long time and do loads of conversions, and I had a really good time doing this last summer and just watched the TV, and I watched the Batman series, or the Penguin series it was, and I watched that, and it was really good fun, and I basically did it all over a couple of days, just blitzing all these conversions. And I was like, I can do that now. I've got the time to do that now in June. So I'm going to do that, but what would I watch? And I thought, do you know what I'm going to watch? I'm going to watch Rings of Power. I'm going to give that a go again. I haven't gone back to Rings of Power since season 2. I haven't given season 2 a rewatch, but I thought I'd go right back to the start and watch it. And then I thought, do you know what else would be fun? Let's involve our patrons. Let's involve our wonderful Battle Streams of Middle-earth patrons. So what I've done is put out a Zoom link to our patrons, and today at 9:30 in the morning we are going to launch that video, and anyone who wants, any of our patrons are going to jump in, maybe for 8 hours with me, maybe for 1 hour over their lunch period, and just watch some Rings of Power, hang out together, hobby, chat, kind of make sure we spend some more community time together with our wonderful B-Sign community, and just hang out and hobby, basically. And my plan, and I'm honestly delighted and over the moon by this, is just to sit on my sofa and convert Hobbits for 8 hours watching Rings of Power. And that's my plan. And so I'll film the little clips again so you can see how I made them all. And then we'll see where we are at the end of the day, and see how we're getting on, and then the rest of the vlog will take you through me painting them. I'll paint another batch of Hobbits, hopefully covering a span of about 5 weeks, and then we'll have to see how we get on, and maybe there'll be an event review. But there we are. That's the plan. Back to the Shire once again, and I genuinely couldn't be more excited. Do you know what? That's a lie, because I could be more excited, because I'm as excited as I am about being back in the Shire. I'm more excited about the fact that for the first time in about a year, I'm about to have a day of glorious uninterrupted hobby. That I'm really excited about. So without further ado, I'm going to get stuck in and see how we get on. See you on the other side. Okay, so let's see what we've got to work with. So first off, we can have a look at these. These are full Hobbits that haven't been touched. So I've got a Farmer Maggot, I've got a Banderbreast Took, I've got this little dude, I've got another Maggot, I've got a Crouching Mary, I've got a two-handed hammer bloke, I've got an archer, and I've got another militia. So all of these guys are fair game, they're all kind of spare effectively, and all of these could contribute parts to any of my conversions. I've also got a smaller batch of Hobbits, which are these ones, and these are kind of potentially, effectively, I think I do want to paint these ones up as they are, as normal Hobbits, to fill in some little gaps in the collection. So I'd rather not paint these ones, but if there's a particular head here, or weapon here, or pose here that I suddenly get struck by inspiration for, I will sacrifice them to the cause, but ideally I'm not painting those. Then in addition to that, I've got what was left over. I've also got, from the previous project, I've also got 2 Gaffer Gamgees. You notice here, I've basically got 2 full Gaffer Gamgees in here. This is really cool. It's a really cool kit for a couple of reasons. One, because it's resin, so it's good for converting, and two, because the way his foot's raised and it stands on like on a little pile of dirt makes him quite good for balancing him on a selection of things, tables, chairs, all that sort of stuff. So very handy. He's got some nice hands as well. He's got a good kind of arm work there from Gaffer. I've also got this tiny bag, which is just basically all the spares from last time. I'm not going to pull these out, but these are all like arms and axes and different bits of weapons. These are the bits from the last set of hobbits I converted that were spare. So there could be a couple of handy little bits in there. Similarly here, I think these are the painted weapons that I cut off the painted versions when I had to, make the turn some of the painted ones into conversions. I got a bag of heads. These are largely the kind of metal Hobbit hero heads I use for the crouching move. I think they're largely Merry and Pippin. Could be handy. And then I've got a bunch of bits of basically destroyed hobbits. So these are ones that all contributed something to someone last time. So I got some of Gaffer's flower pots. Got a little fire pit that I've got an idea for. I've got a Tolman cotton body. I've got a I can never remember, is that Robin Smallbrow or Wholefoot Bracegirdle, one of those. I've got the Merry and Pippin from the new Tree Rid kit. I've got an Athelian Frodo, which I've got a kind of crazy idea of maybe making him be a guy playing a flute. I reckon could I drill into there maybe and have a flute coming up and down. That's the plan for him. And then I've got three militia hobbits who've all sacrificed body parts to the cause. So they're basically again all available to try and turn into new hobbits, as it were. And then to help, I've got a load of accessories. Oh, I've got Bilbo as well. I've got the Escape from Goblin Town Bilbo, who contributed an arm to someone. So I plan to do something with him as well. And I've got a bunch of accessories to try and enhance them. So I won't get all these out, and there's no way I'll use them all, but I've got some stools, I've got a little anvil, an axe in a block, some chests. These are all leftover things from that big Tomrillion order I did in the past. Here we've got like a pan, another little table or a little stool that someone could be sitting on, a little bench, got some maps, a little thing of pots here, got a big bowl, a basket, something. I've got some books. Remember, I wanted as we found out, I wanted a Hobbit reading a book, but I'd forgot to do it. So maybe I'll be able to get a Hobbit reading a book this time, don't I? We got some more bits like chests, another open book, tiny little chest, which is quite good fun. All sorts of cool stuff. And then again, small, not just cool, fun bits. Different pots, different household objects that might be useful. A little pot of cups. Most of these cups end up on the tables at the Bilbo's birthday party. I had a few left. And then one more bag of spare bits. Massive chalice. Probably won't use that. I've got a little bottle in there. Another map. And there we go. So that's my bits. And what I'm now going to do is spend a day chopping and changing and seeing if I can come up with basically, particularly these guys who've already been chopped up. I'm basically going to see, can I salvage new hobbits from these? That's the plan. Can I turn these bits, the hobbits that are missing something, into full hobbits, possibly with the aid of these new spare hobbits? And we'll go from there. Here we go. And so I got settled in on the sofa and launched the Zoom call. A few B-Simers joined the call, we synced up our episodes, and we all hit play on Season 1 of Rings of Power at the same time. We were off. Instantly, this seemed like a great idea.
hobbying all day is fun as it is, but hobbying all day with friends is just next level. I got stuck into my hobbits, decapitating some models, putting their poor severed heads into other models, grabbing those poor dismembered and disarmed hobbits from my previous conversions, and finding all sorts of cool bits like books, stools, benches, flower pots, to make some new, fun and engaging conversions to attend Bilbo's party. And so, the dream day played out. Hobbits, Harfoots, glue, Galadriel, hobby knives, halbrands, and all the twists and turns that came with Season 1 of Rings of Power. It really was great fun. And, as the credits rolled on episode 7, and I had to go back to the real world, I reflected on a wonderfully enjoyable and successful day.
So I just wanted to pop in with a little clip because it is the end of Monday. It's Monday night, and I've just got to say I just had the best day. This has been absolutely awesome. It worked. So there's been a couple of small clips I think you've shown of me working on a few bits and bobs, and I did a little bit of Zoom recording a couple of times. But yeah, we had. I spent 8 hours hobbying today. It worked. At 9:30 we jumped on the Zoom call, and we went until 5:30, and we watched the first 7 episodes of Season 1 of Rings of Power. So all but the last episode we managed to squeeze in. It was so much fun. I think I've seen it 3 times. I think when it first came out 4 years ago, I watched each episode twice. Like, you know, every week I think I watched it twice. And then me and my wife rewatched Season 1 before Season 2 came out. So I think I've seen it all 3 times or something, but I haven't seen it in over a year, and I've never watched it all back to back. I've never binged it all. And I even I think if I'm honest, I might just quickly sneak on even though the Zoom calls run out, I might watch the last episode tonight just to finish it off. And it was cool to see it play out. And you know, I'm a happy guy. I'm a cheery guy. I like Rings of Power. I think it's cool. I enjoyed it. It's nice getting back to it. It's different. It's a different sound box. It's a different take on things. But I think there's cool stuff. Like, there's a lot of fun stuff. That Khazad-dûm's awesome. Numenor's awesome. I like a lot of the characters. Can't bear the mithril bit, but you know, that's the thing. There's bits of it I like and bits of it I don't, but the bits I like outweigh the bits I don't, so it was cool. And then we had B-Simers joining me throughout the day, like different people kind of coming onto the call for like an hour over lunch or a bit of time here and there. Joe Achille from the States joined briefly at the start of his work day, which was cool. So yeah, it was just a really, really cool way of just hanging out with a few friends and kind of hobbying. And talking of hobbying, it only blooming worked. Check it out. I have got 15 brand new Hobbit conversions as hoped. I can't quite believe this, to be honest. I don't know if 15 Hobbit conversions in 8 hours is good. It's effectively one every half an hour or so, I suppose. But you know, there's a lot to do with them in terms of both conceptualising what you're going to do, but also actually, you know, filing them down, making bits fit, and all that sort of stuff, as well as having little breaks. So I'm pretty pleased to have got. I'm not pretty pleased. I'm delighted to have got all of these guys done within the time. And I can't remember the last time I just spent 8 straight hours hobbying. It was awesome. I loved it. Really, really, really chuffed. And so yeah, it's been a massive success. I'm not going to show you these right now because they need green stuff in. So I'm going to put green stuff on them over the next few days, and then I'm going to show you kind of how they look and kind of go into in depth and on how I made the conversions. Otherwise, it's just going to be repeating the same thing twice. So yeah, I'll green stuff them, and then before I prime them, I'll show you what they got. But I'm really chuffed, really, really happy, and it's been a lovely day. And this project, which in the first clip I was super, super excited about, I am now super, super excited about, and have had a wonderful start of hobbying. So yeah, all for the good. So hopefully we'll see you in a couple of days when these guys are all green stuff, and we can have a good look in detail. But thank you to everyone who joined the call today to make this kind of like hobbying Rings of Power fest a success. Okay, so it's a few days later. And I'm happy to say the green stuffing work is done, so I can show you the results of my hobbying and what I've got. So I'm going to start off with the 2 new members of the band. So the first one is this guy,
This was a washboard. It was the only instrument that I had left from my instruments pack that I didn't do anything with. So we used the Bilbo Baggins from Goblin Town body. I then put that's a Gaffer Gamgee arm on, which hopefully looks like he's about to be plucking the washboard. It's the metal arm of just a Hobbit. I don't know which one it is. I think maybe the metal archer with the hat on, and then the head from an archer who's got he's just one of the Hobbit archer dudes. Don't know how to tell them apart really, but he came out pretty well. Just putting those pieces together, pretty happy with that. The next one I was really quite pleased with, which is the Athelian Frodo, which is the decapitated Frodo that I used for my Frodo on the board. And I've given him Banderbrass's head, because, as I've said multiple times before, the Fellowship era metal hobbits are bigger than the metal hobbits from the Shire range, and so their heads kind of don't mix very well. But Banderbrass and Farmer Maggot both have big heads, they fit in quite well. And this is I don't actually know what it is. It's like a pipe of some sort, or a heating thing, or it's meant to go on a table. It's some sort of cooking or fire element smoke thing, I don't know really, but I really wanted to use this guy as like a kind of flautist or blowing a horn of some sort, and I found this piece that I decided actually could be a kind of rudimentary horn. I'm not sure if it will focus here, if you'll be able to see, but I have drilled a hole through the hands and the top of it is coming out here, so there is part of that and that's going straight through there, and that worked out really, really well. And I drilled out the bottom a little bit as well, so I was really pleased with him. Pretty happy with how that came out. Next up, that decapitated Banderbrass. Here's what's left of him. Here's the body, and I've added a Pippin to his head. I've got lots of decapitated Merrys and Pippins from where I used all the crouching hobbits on the board, so there's lots of their heads lying around, so I tried to use them wherever possible. And I'll paint, whenever I have got a Merry or a Pippin head, I'm just going to paint their hair very differently, like, you know, either very, very blonde or very, very black, possibly to try and disguise it. And I had this kind of lantern piece from Tom Marillion, so I decided to give him that to hopefully, I thought the pose looked like he was kind of carrying a lantern out in front of him. I thought that worked quite well. Next up, we have this guy. As soon as I was trying to picture kind of ideas for new hobbits, I thought this guy looked like he'd be carrying something. So this is the two-handed axe hobbit who's been decapitated. I think that's the same head as this guy, possibly. So the same head from an archer, I think. And then what I've done here is taken one of my Tom Marillion stools, put it on, and added, I think that's Folco Boffin's arm. I think it might actually be Folco Boffin's left arm, I think. So I've kind of swapped that round. And then there's an open hand here, which I think comes from one of the Hobbit archers that I put on. And I think that worked quite well, to be honest. I'm quite pleased with that. It looks like he's kind of carrying a stool over to somewhere else in the party. So I'm pretty pleased with that. Next up, we have this dude. I had an anvil lying around, so I took the two-handed hammer guy, and he'd been decapitated at he'd had his arm cut off at some point to be given elsewhere. And then this is normally one hand that's holding a two-handed hammer, and I realised that just the way it was made him look a bit like a blacksmith. So this one, the head, this hopefully shows you what I mean by the head. You can see Pippin's head on there, and he's a bit too big. He's got quite a big head, this dude. I put Gaffer Gamgee's arm on there. I thought it looked like he was in a pose, kind of balancing himself, preparing to kind of hit something. And then I put an axe blade, a Hobbit axe blade on here that had been cut off one of the Hobbit militias at some point. So I was pretty pleased with that. Shame about the head, but I think the pose is pretty cool. Next up, we have this one. I knew I wanted to do this pose when I had two Gaffer Gamgee bodies, and this is the little fire pit that I had left over from the Crouching Sam that I used previously in the project first time around. So I'd cut the fire away from Sam and kept it, and I like the idea of a Hobbit stepping on it by accident and screaming. So I kind of found this guy. This was the head that had come from this guy, I think, originally, or at least that sculpt. And he's got his mouth open, Kind of tried to use some just arms I had lying around to kind of roughly pose his body in the right position. And then this one, I think, is the other arm from this guy. I think that's what you're seeing there. That's the arm that would join up to the hammer, like that. And I thought it looked like he was holding a kind of stick to try and beat the fire out, having accidentally stood on it. So, quite pleased with that. Next up, B-Side historians will know that I was meant to do a Hobbit reading a book, and I totally forgot. So I wanted to do it for this one. Harder than it looked to kind of both get a book. The only books I had were pretty big, and to actually make it look like anyone was reading it. So I couldn't figure out a way to get a Hobbit holding it. But I took Merry, then I gave him the Farmer Maggot head. As I said, they kind of match up quite well scale wise. And I took this open book and just lent it on a spare set of Gaffer Gamgee's flower pots. So I think it works quite well. It's not quite the holding the book I was hoping for, but I think it's pretty cool. I might paint it as the red book. Maybe brought the red book to the party and the Hobbit's having a sneaky look. This one I'm really pleased with. We've got, that's the head from a Hobbit archer. It's Holfoot Bracegirdle's body. Farmer Maggot's hand has been onto it. And I quite like this idea of him putting the scythe on the shoulder. I think it works quite well. Then we've got an arm here. I don't know what arm that is. Could be another Folko Boffin arm possibly. And then a dark grey plastic hand. I think that's the hand from the Treebeard Merry or Pippin, I think. But I quite like the idea of it. It was just a case of finding the pieces I already had and trying to piece them together into some kind of enjoyable looking hobbits. This was another quite fun one. I had the Merry from the Treebeard set left over, where I'd given his head to my Merry for the boy back in December. I gave him another Farmer Maggot scythe, had him sitting on some another set of flower pots, and gave him the head of the two-handed hammer guy. I had to resculpt the cloak in there. Not very good at this sort of stuff, but hopefully that'll be alright once I've painted it up. But that kind of came out quite well. It's quite good fun. Then we got on to this dude, which was another idea that I had, where because of the pose of Gaffer Gamgee, I like the idea of having him having a dancing one. So I got this little bench. This is actually, funnily enough, there's a shelf. That's how these were sold. They were shelves to go on walls, but because of their height, I think they make quite good little individual Hobbit benches. So that's a Gaffer Gamgee body. Again, some sort of Hobbit militia or archer arm there, and I think that's that is this hammerer's arm there. I think that's that arm that's gone to there, and then that is the Holfoot Bracegirdle head that I cut off this dude for. I thought, again, because he had his mouth open, he looked like he was kind of singing and dancing a bit. So that's a fun one. And then we get on to I think potentially my two favourite ones. So the first one I'm going to show you is I'm gonna flash up a picture now on the screen of what he did look like, because this is a fun bit of B-Side history. So this guy, you can see, is Tolman Cotton's body. I'd already used his head, and basically then it's the Escape from Goblin Town Bilbo's head, and then Gaffer Gamgee's arms. And I like the idea that he looked like he was in a kind of punching pose, yeah, threatening someone. Maybe he'd got into a fight at the party or something, and maybe he'd I don't know, I was looking for a bit of a fight, and I thought he looked quite cool, and then I also wanted to raise him up to make him look a little bit more dramatic, and this is the only thing I could find that would raise him up, because his legs are so far apart. Everything else I had was too small, basically, and I was pretty happy with it. And I was doing an episode of Battle Streams. I think it was 118. I think it was. It was the Armies of the Hobbit special. And during that, I was chatting to Chris Murphy, who was the host, and showing it to him. And he said two things. He said, firstly, the arm, which is effectively the same as this arm here on this guy, it looks good here because he's like posing, and he's going to be kind of plucking at the board. I think that kind of makes sense, but on this conversion, it didn't quite work because it didn't look that threatening. And Chris had this really simple suggestion. He was like, why don't you just twist the wrist around? Like cut it and turn the wrist around to make it kind of beckoning on. I think he used a phrase like in The Matrix. But it was very much in a kind of come at me bro pose. And I was like, okay. And then on the on the stream, I basically asked the people, what do you think of the box? And university people agreed, and they went, it's too big, it's too big. I was like, I knew it was too big. So I went digging through my box of stuff. I found a bunch of options and basically got the community to vote. And in the end, we settled on this. And he's on another one of those shelves now. So we have him standing on a bench, and then his hand has been turned around. And I have to say, without any... There's no green stuff there, but you can barely see it. So I'm hoping that won't show up with too much of a gap or anything. But it looks good from this angle. And I do think it works. He's either about to close his fist now, or he is doing that kind of, come at me. Which I think is really cool. So I love this now. And comparing the two, I just think he's clearly infinitesimally better. Which is really, really cool. So thanks to Chris and thanks to the community for making the suggestions, and I'm now really happy with him. And my final one, which came from a few, my final good one. I've got another 3 to come, which I'll explain in a minute. This one basically came from this guy. So I had the body of this guy. This is the Pippin from the Treebeard kit. I'd decapitated him. I'd given his head to the Pippin on my board last year, and I had this. And you can see him. He's got a full cloak, and I was like, I just want to use this, kind of like I had this Merry. I was like, I've got to use this body. It's been decapitated, so it's not going to see any other use. But I've got to use this body for something, to have him sitting on something. But because it's quite thin, he wouldn't really fit on anything. Everything I tried to put him on just didn't really work. And at the same time, one of the things I had left was a farmer maggot body. And I was trying to work out what to do with the farmer maggot body. Just notice my nail, by the way. This is green stuff. My fingers aren't rotting. And I suddenly was struck by an idea. I was like, what if I put him on farmer maggot? What if I put him on farmer maggot's shoulders? Is that crazy? And I put him on farmer maggot's shoulders, and it fit perfectly, with the exception that there was no room for the head. And so I came up with the idea of turning Farmer Maggot into a scarecrow. So what I've done is the completed piece is I cut one of the legs off and then kind of green stuffed around the other leg and kind of made it into wood. And then I put 2, I think these were just shafts. The right inside here you should be able to see there's like a metal arm, which is meant to be like a wooden arm. They were just like shafts of hammers or axes or something. And then I cut tiny little bristles off a brush, kind of like a floor sweeping brush, and then glued them in place to make these kind of straw arms. There he is sitting on top, and as you can see, he's pretty damn flush. Works really, really well. He's got Gaffer Gamgee's head, and then I gave him Tolman Cotton's arm, a kind of a Tolman Cotton hand that I had lying around that hadn't been used. And then, as you can see, there's no room for the head. And I thought if I just push it forward here, it's just going to look rubbish. And so what I decided to do was stick the head on here, stick the head on top of the pike, and like he was using it to kind of maybe threaten people or something. And I wanted a hat, and I went digging through my Bix box, and I found Bofa's hat from Escape from Goblin Town. So I stuck that plastic hat onto a ball of green stuff, and I'm going to then paint a kind of scarecrow face on it. So I think this has come out really, really well. I'm really happy with this. This is one of my favourite conversions I've done. Kind of made good use of one less Hobbit for me to paint, because I turned 2 Hobbit models into one. But I think it's a really, really cool pose that I really, really like. And you can see, all the different materials that have gone into it. We've got plastic, we've got fine cast, we've got green stuff, we've got bristles, we've got metal. Yeah, it's pretty cool. So yeah, that's possibly my favourite of the new set. And then what I was basically left with was 3 salvageable bodies and a bunch of pieces. So what I then just tried to do is just like these were no longer. I'd run out of kind of creative bits, if it were, and I was just trying to use up the bodies to save the figures. So first one was really simple. It's just a Hobbit archer who had his head cut off, so I chucked Merry's head on him. So again, you can see his head's a bit too big, but I don't really care. But it saved the body basically by putting that head on him. So a converted archer there, which is quite cool. And then this one, same sort of thing. I had a farmer maggot body. I put a Merry head on it, and I put, this is actually a kind of, this is a real Frankenstein one, because that's whole foot brace girdles, hand and kind of lower half here, and then just an axe that I'd had cut off someone here. So and the join's really good on that one. I was really impressed by how much that kind of looked pretty natural. So again, just using up the spare pieces I had at this point. And finally, without doubt, the worst one, I had this guy who is again, he's just the worst Frankenstein one of them all. He was what was left. So I had the body of a Hobbit archer. I put a Pippin head on. I put I think that's Bilbo, the plastic Bilbo from Goblin Town's right arm. I had this bent arm here, which is a whole foot brace girdle, left arm, and then I just had a metal fist from some Hobbit or other, and so I just glued all those bits together. It basically just allowed me to use all the missing pieces I had to make another Hobbit. So there we go. I was able to use my pieces to create 15 brand new Hobbit conversions, which was pretty cool, all things considered. And so that was that. That was the all the models I had and all the models that I could realistically put together. I was left with these two, two bodies. You can see this it's so hard to convert this guy to, because it's hard to cut his kind of like head off clean and all that. Because he's lost both of his arms and his head. This guy's lost kind of an arm and a half and his head. And I basically, even if I wanted to do anything with this, I just ran out of arm pieces. I don't have any more spare arms and heads to kind of make more Hobbits. And, this body's kind of mangled beyond recognition, really. So these two are being struck from the record. It's a valiant effort, but these two just are being removed from the collection. So at the end of the vlog, I'll go back and see kind of how many models I ended up turning how many models into effectively. But whilst this isn't quite the end of the Shire project, it is the end of me converting Hobbits. I'm finally finished converting Hobbits, and the stuff I had left over is those two bodies and whatever's in this bag. There's a few more bits. It's mainly weapon bits basically, but these bits will be removed from the collection, and we'll see at the end how many numbers I've got. But there we go. Those are my 15 Hobbits, and they're ready to go. And yeah, I'm pretty excited. I'm gonna spray undercoat them, and then get stuck in, and hopefully we'll get these all done in time for Throne and Skulls doubles. Okay, so it is update time. It is Tuesday the 17th of June, and as you can see, my Hobbits are now primed and ready for painting, with some added friends. So there's a couple of things I just want to chat about before we jump into the painting. First off, I had a bit of a change in heart, and look at this guy. Our Scarecrow dude has had the Scarecrow head changed. So it used to have Biffa's head on it. Now it's got the head from a militia on it. And I even as I was describing it to you on camera, I couldn't shake the feeling that the hat looked too much like Boffa's hat and was too identifiable and didn't look like a Scarecrow's hat. So I ended up pulling that off, putting a new head on, which was also a bit smaller, I think, and putting on a Hobbit hat, which I think looks more like the kind of hat you might expect a Scarecrow to have. So yeah, that was the change. So have I made the right choice? I don't know. You can always let me know in the comments if you think it looks worse or it looks better as it is. But yeah, that's what I decided to do. So obviously as a result of that, I needed that hat. And the hat came from another Hobbit militia who thought he'd survived the cull, and that is this guy. So this guy donated his head, and as a result had Merry's head glued onto him. So we've got another kind of conversion there as a bonus one. And I actually think that one works really, really well. So I think that's pretty cool. I'm pretty pleased with that. And I think somehow the arm coming across his body slightly hides the scale difference a bit. So I've got an extra conversion there. So yeah, a little bit of bonus conversion work. So what you can also see here are now 5 other models that I haven't shown you, which are at the back along here, or 6 actually, because I've got this Sheriff as well. I've got one Sheriff left over that I potentially need to paint for the project, so I'm going to do him. And then at the back I've just got 5 normal militia. There's one archer, one normal archer guy, and then these guys. And these guys are the brave few who survived the massive conversion process. So they're my remaining Hobbit militia. And as you can see, there's actually one of each sculpt left. So having converted all my hobbits, these 4 were left as normal militia. So having now finished all those conversions, I decided to clean them up and get them ready as well. Now, whilst I've done that, what you're looking at here, if we include Folko Boffin, who's got to be painted to come to the party, is 14, 23 hobbits. Now, at the happiest, when I was doing my batches, I was painting 15 hobbits at a time, and under extreme stress before throwing skulls, I painted 20 at a time. I'm not going to paint 23 hobbits at a time. So what I'm going to do is actually bench these guys. So the 4 kind of conversions that I told you were kind of to use up the bits and ones that I weren't particularly keen on are all going back with these guys. And then I'm going to paint these guys for this project. So these 9 are being put back in the case. They'll be being brought up for what I hope will be the final Shire video at some point in the future. They're all ready to go, of course, but I'm just not going to spend the time painting them. I think roughly my hobbits take about 2 hours to paint each. So adding in another 9 hobbits is another 18 hours painting, which is obviously a significant increase, and also makes the batch size really, really unpleasant. So as it is, this is what I'm painting for this vlog. I've got 12 converted hobbits, I've got the sheriff, and I've got Folko Boffin. And once I get those done, those will be the hobbits that are coming with me to Throne of Skulls. So, as I said, it's Tuesday, the 17th of June. We now have, I'll be going on the Friday, so I've got Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, so I've got 3.5 weeks, basically. 3.5 weeks to get these painted. As I said, they take about 2 hours each. There's 14 models, that's about 28 hours, and I've got about 24 days. So I need to paint for about an hour a day. So this is quite achievable, I think, to get these guys done. I'm not freaking out too much, but of course it's important that we get stuck in. So yeah, there we go. I will come back. I will try and come back when these guys are base coated and shaded, and their skin has all been done, and then that's the classic point in these Hobbit vlogs where I've come back to reassess the situation and decide whether I'm going to be highlighting them up as a group or highlighting them up a couple at a time as I did last time. So yeah, was it Tuesday 17th of June? If I'm back within a week showing you the progress on that, I think I'll be making pretty good progress. So yeah, fingers crossed. See you then. So just a bit of an update. I've stumbled into a little bit of a problem partway through the process. So this is my scarecrow riding guy, who I think I actually showed off in detail a while back, but there was something that I'd missed then. This is at the stage where he's been base coated and he's finished his skin, so he's waiting for his highlights. But as I was painting him, I was trying to work out what to paint things, and if you look in around his chest here, there seems to be a big sort of gaping hole. See that? There's almost like a dent in his chest. And then he's also got this weird bulge around his neck. As I was painting it, I was just thinking, what the hell is that? And so I went back to the original model, which is Pippin from Treebeard, to try and figure it out. And here is my Pippin from Treebeard. And it's his scarf. Or should I say, it's not his scarf, that there is a scarf piece that is missing from this model. And what I've worked out is I've gone back and looked at the instructions for this kit, and the scarf is attached to the face of Pippin, so you glue them on together. And if we were to go back to the vlog, I don't know what it was, a few ago when I was doing my conversions, and I was showing you how I cut this version of, like, I cut the Pippin head off to use for my Pippin conversion for the party board. I said that the way these models are assembled are in so many pieces that if you want to convert them, you have to build the whole thing and then chop it off. So that head is like in 2 parts and the arm will be in 74 parts. So if you ever want to convert these models, you can't just take the arm off the sprue. You're going to have to build them all first and then chop them up. And so that's what I did with these models. I built them first and I cut Pippin's head off and cut Merry's head off as well. But what's really weird is that at some point in the process, he's lost the scarf. Now, I truly, for the life of me, can't remember what's happened here or why I would have done this. But as far as I can see, the most likely thing is because the scarf was attached to the face, I think maybe I just trimmed the scarf off before I assembled it, thinking I'm never going to need this, and it might make the converting process harder. Now, what I find really trolling about that is that's very, very un-me, and it's even more un-me to have then thrown the scarf away. But the scarf is not in my bits of Hobbit bag, and so I really don't know what's happened here, but I'm left in this slightly annoying and frustrating situation where I have this model here with some odd gaps in it, and not just odd gaps, but then also an odd bit here. And so I'm currently, right now, where are we? It's Thursday? So yeah, a week out from the event, trying to work out what I do with this guy, because I really like this as a conversion. He's one of the ones I definitely want to bring along. And so basically I've got three options. I can leave it as it is, I can green stuff it to just fill the gap, so there's not a big dent in him, and then just paint this as a scarf, like a little neckerchief or something, or I can try and sculpt a scarf. And as of right now, I'm going to do one of the last two. I'm not going to leave it as it is because I think it looks silly, but I'm not very good at sculpting. Can I put a bit of a scarf along that might read well, or do I just fill it in with green stuff? I don't know. But that's now an annoying process that I have to do. I'm going to have to do a bit of green stuff in over this base coated model already before I can get stuck into him. So yeah, a bit of a headache for the project going forward. But I thought I'd talk you through that, and who knows what will happen with it. We'll have to wait and see. So it's update time. I think the last time I spoke to you was on Tuesday the 17th, I believe, and that was once all the Hobbits had been. They were fully converted, they were painted, they were primed, and they were ready to get painted. And at that point I said that I'd be really happy if I was back by the next week, so Tuesday the 24th, with them base coated, shaded, and with their skin done. That's where I kind of paused and updated last time I painted a batch of Hobbits. So it was like, we can get that done in a week. By Tuesday the 24th, we'll be laughing. So, big reveal time, it's not Tuesday the 24th, it is Friday the 27th. Oh, now we are done. That's done. So that's good news. Bad news, oh no, 3 days later, right? We're on Friday instead of Tuesday. But a couple of caveats on this. Firstly is that I went to visit my parents at the weekend. So I actually had 3 nights, we had a long weekend there, and I had 3 nights at my parents where I couldn't paint. So that kind of put me behind. So I'm 3 days late, but I lost 3 nights as well. So that's all right. I'm not too worried about that. But also, as much as I got to that stage, you see all my little hobbits back here, I got to that stage with all of them where I wanted to be by last night, by Thursday. And so, yeah, it was pretty good going. I got to where I needed to be 2 days later than I hoped I'd be there. And what I decided to do was do exactly the same thing I did last time I did a big batch, which is I then painted one Hobbit to completion. And that Hobbit was Folko Boffin. Now, if you are any kind of B-Sime historians who may well remember this, if you were to go back to my hobby vlog number 41, which is when I was painting my last big set of Hobbits in December, when I was extremely stressed, I did exactly this. I got the whole batch to having them base coated, shaded, and all their eyes done and all their skin done. And then in a recap clip, I painted one model. And I'd worked out it took me about an hour and a half, I thought, to paint them. And I was really stressed then. I think it was about 2 weeks before the event, or 1 week before the event. And I found out that when I then took a single model and painted it to completion, it only took an hour, not an hour and a half. And I celebrated. I got very excited in the vlog. And so this time I was expecting, I wanted to paint it in the same way. I thought it was quite fun. I'd just take a single model and finish him. I started with Folko because he's the only hero that I haven't got painted, so he has to come along. All these other militia could not come, you know, I could just use my existing militia, but this guy has to come along, so I decided to start with him. So I painted him up thinking, oh, I know this now, he'll take an hour, and he took me an hour and 40 minutes, and I don't know why. Now I know he's a hero, so you might think I spent more time on him, but I don't think I spent much more time on him at all. I think I spent about the same amount of time. I'm painting my Hobbits quite well, I hope, and I painted about the same amount of time on him as everything else. And so, unlike last time I shot one of these clips when I was really excited, this has now plunged me into doubt,
because suddenly now to take all these models to completion, they're going to take about an hour and a half each instead of an hour each, apparently. So there are 13 left. Is that right? Yeah, 13 left. So that is suddenly nearly 20 hours of painting instead of 13 hours of painting. So that's where I am now. I'm very happy with what I've got done, and I'm very happy with my finished Volko Boffin, but I am genuinely quite worried now about that. Now, it's nothing like Throne of Skulls, let's be absolutely clear. It's not insurmountable. As I said, it's Friday night, so that's Friday the 27th. I've finished painting for the night. So I've got about 2 weeks. I'm going to be leaving. I won't have the Friday because I would have left Friday morning. So I've got, is that 13 nights, 14 nights, I don't know, to paint them. So it's more than an hour and a half. It's more than an hour's painting every day now until the event. But of course, some nights I won't be able to paint. But obviously some nights I'll do more than an hour and a half, hopefully. So yeah, that's the update. Pretty good, but could be much better. And I've now got to plunge on, and hopefully I'll be seeing you in about 2 weeks' time when I've done about 20 hours painting and all of the Hobbits are complete. So cross everything, wish me luck, and here we go.
So I just wanted to give you a bit of an update on the scarf situation since before I get stuck into painting. But I believe when I left you, I had 3 options, which was do nothing, fill it in with green stuff, sculpt a scarf with green stuff, or oh god, he's gone forever. I'll flick him across the table, or manage to find the scarf piece or borrow the scarf piece. Put a call out in a completely unsurprising twist. No one had the scarf piece, and so I decided to sculpt a scarf. Yeah, I went big. So as I've said on that and many times before, sculpting not my forte, but hopefully I've had a little go and I'm pretty pleased. We'll have to see what it looks like when it's painted, but I have successfully filled the gap, put a kind of scarf on that looks the same thickness as the bit that's going around his neck, and then even managed to sculpt some little tassels into it. So I'm pretty pleased with that, I'll have to say. And so I'm going to repaint that and that bit around the neck as red. So he's got a red scarf on, and yeah, hopefully you'll next see him when he's fully finished and see how it looks. Onwards. Okay, so it is the Thursday night, the day before Throne of Skulls doubles, and I am delighted to say the Hobbits are done. So let's have a look at them. So first off, we have this cool Banderbus and Pippin hybrid with holding out his light. I have no idea in the original sculpt from Tom Rillian if this is how this light's meant to work. I'm not really sure what it's meant to be, but I've gone for a kind of very, very bright glowing centre, and then I've kind of put some sort of seraphim sepia around the metal to make it hopefully look like a bit of kind of very basic OSL. There we go. And yeah, and then I've painted him deliberately different to Banderbus. So Banderbus I think has brown trousers and a white shirt, so I've very much gone for, you know, bright colours to move away from that model, but I'm pretty pleased with that. Next up we have the Banderbus head and Frodo Athelian kind of hornblower guy, which I think came out really well. I have drilled through there, and hopefully now better than you could when I showed you the conversion. You can see the kind of metal piece in there. There's 2 metal rings coming out the top, which I think works really, really well. It does look like he's about to be blown into it. Again, my rule that whenever I used a Fellowship Hobbit model, I would paint the cloaks red, blue or yellow and not green to get away from the fact of the models they were. I like this. I don't think he looks like Frodo. I think that one's hidden quite well. I'm pleased with that. Here's Ken. Punchy Hobbit inspired by Mr. Chris Murfitt with his hand swap and painted in the colours of Ken from Street Fighter. So he's got the yellow hair, the primarily red clothing, and then little black accents. I'm quite pleased with this. Is it a bit silly? Yes, but I don't think the paint job makes him look completely like a Street Fighter and not like a Hobbit. So I think it works all right. So I'm pretty pleased with how he came out. He's a cool sculpt and very much come at me, bro. This is my Militia and Pippin combo to make a blacksmith. I think came out quite well. Again, I know I've talked about this before. That's just the 2-handed hammer, just cut short, and then I put an axe blade down here. Deliberately tried to put some extra seraphim sepia on that to kind of give the impression that the metal there was really hot. Don't know if it works, but it kind of makes it stand out from the anvil a bit. But again, pleased with it. Pleased with this. Pleased with the paint job. Came out nicely. Another fun one here, which is our Gaffer Gamgee Militia. The head's a bit awful on this. It's a really tough head to cut off, that one. It's the one from the two-handed axe militia. But the idea is here he's accidentally stepped on a fire, or maybe he's desperately trying to put a fire out. Who knows? I like to think the idea of it was that he was screaming because he'd accidentally stepped on a fire. But I think the fire pit came out quite well. That's the fire from Sam in Athelion cooking, and again Gaffer Gamgee. Lovely little model. Loads of details to paint, which can be a bit annoying sometimes, but it's good fun. And again, deliberately tried. I think I've got 2 of these here, so I'll show you the other one next. Deliberately tried to make sure they're very different. So, you know, yellow shirt and blue shirt, very, very different to the standard Gaffer Gamgee pose. Might as well do this one while we're here. The dancing Hobbit on the little bench, with, I think it's Holfoot brace girdles head. Quite nice, pleased with that. We got the Hobbit reading a book. It's not quite what I was picturing when I talked about it in that other vlog I'd forgotten about. The idea is it's meant to be Bilbo's Red Book, and so I didn't have the pieces to have him kind of sitting up holding it, but this combination here of Farmer Maggot's head on Merry's body kind of worked quite well. Nice to get the flower pots in there as well, some spare flower pots I had. And I think the book came out pretty well, but it's quite cool. The idea that someone at the party is sneaking a look at Bilbo's book. New member for the band was the washboard guy, plastic Bilbo Baggins from Escape from Goblin Town, and just a militia head. Again, a militia head. I think that's not just my awful paint job. I think that his nose has been a bit mashed in the conversion process, but I don't think it matters from a distance. Quite fun. Yeah, potentially my favourite one, which is the Scarecrow. Really pleased with how this came out. Deliberately tried to paint a very silly kind of stylised face on it. I did some Scarecrow research, and those are the kind of faces you tend to see. I think I showed you the change in this before, but I think I made the right call in swapping the head and the hat and everything to that one, but let me know if you disagree. Again, tried to make sure I painted the Scarecrow in bright colours different to the normal Farmer Maggot body. And there is my scarf. I think I'd showed you the green stuff scarf, but there it is painted. I got to say, I'm pretty happy with that. I think that little cheeky last minute green stuff scarf has come out quite well. And I don't think people would necessarily realise it was green stuff. So very pleased with how that whole piece came together. There's a surprising number of different bits and bobs going on in that conversion, and I think it works really well. So I like him. This one's quite cool, the Holfoot brace girdle body with a Hobbit archer's head and Farmer Maggot's hand. And I'm not sure whether I think that's just a different militia's arm, isn't it? But that came out really nicely, just a kind of defiant farmer pose, which I thought was quite cool. Another set of flower pots here for this guy to sit on. This is the Pippin from Treebeard with a two-handed hammer militia head and another Farmer Maggot side. Is it normal to sit on flower pots? Who knows? But I think it works. And that was if you remember, that was the cloak where I had to fill in that whole chunk there was green stuff. And I think it's come out alright. It's not my forte at all, but I don't think you'd necessarily know. So I'm quite pleased with how that came together. My last sheriff that I needed. I say my last sheriff that I needed. I don't want to do this to myself, but I've got 10 and Holfoot brace girdle and Robin Smallbrow, and in the Shire army list, you can't have those. So the whole idea of only ever painting 10 in the old edition was because I'd always have those 2 Hobbit heroes, but now I can't have those Hobbit heroes in the list. So maybe, arguably, I need to paint 2 more sheriffs, so that I've got the access to 12 sheriffs in the army list. The road goes ever on and on. Folko Boffin, my last hero. I was really pleased with how he came out. Nice little paint job on him, lovely little model, fun to paint. Bizarre. It was kind of bizarre painting this guy in his normal stance as the third, I think it was, Folko Boffin body that I'd used, because I'd already used this body twice. Once for once for Merry and once for Frodo in my conversions. So that was a bit surreal, but he came out well. And finally, a two-handed axe guy that I'd previously decapitated, holding the stool. Fairly simple paint job. I think that did a pretty good job. I'm pretty happy with it. So there we go. 14 more hobbits to join my party ranks. Really pleased with them. Got them done in time, and all the flock and tufts were done now. So I'm going to head over to the chair and wrap up this vlog before throwing skulls.
So there we go. The hobbits are done. Finished the night before throwing skulls, and in relatively little stress. So I am super excited. Got to say, really happy with this batch. Really pleased with how they turned out. There's a lot of kind of fun ideas in there that I was pleased with the kind of execution of, and I'm just delighted to have added another 14 hobbits to the party. So yeah, they're all done. We're off to Throwing Skulls. Trokenbyrne will ride again to defend our doubles crown, and yeah, hopefully we'll get on well. And it's just I can't stress how excited I am. As we said, I would have said at the start of this video, we missed it last year because it was scheduled over 7 Stones. So I cannot wait to head back off to Throwing Skulls with Adam and try and kind of defend our titles from 2023 and usurp those dastardly Mundins who took our title last year when we couldn't attend. But I can't wait for the event. I can't wait to hang out with Adam again. I can't wait to see everyone at Warhammer World, to see all the awesome hobbits on display. And I'm just really excited to get to take my party board again, to be honest. That's the highlight for me. You know, I put so much time and effort into that whole project in the last 5 months of last year, and it just sits in the cupboard. So it's awesome to be able to get that out and take it again. So that's the end of this vlog. I hope you've enjoyed it. A little look to the future. The next one will be a review. I'm going to do a review of Throwing Skulls when we get back and let you know how we got on and all the exciting adventures we had there. And then after that, I can't believe I'm saying this, it's going to be more hobbits. Oh yes. Here's our little box. This is so close. This is so close to being empty now. We're nearly there. But there is in the immortal words of Frodo, there's room for a little more. I've got a few more hobbits. So my next hobby project that you see will be hobbits in the lead up to Ardacon, because I've made the big decision to take hobbits to Ardacon. So I've got a slightly different vlog planned for that one. With some painting, another batch ready for that event, but I'm excited to get stuck into it. So if you're enjoying the Hobbit content, you've got another couple of Hobbit based videos to come in this block, which will be super exciting. So yeah, but that's for the future. For now, thank you all so much for watching it. If you have watched it, please leave a comment below. I try and reply to them all, and they really do mean the world to me. And tell your friends about the channel. Hit subscribe if you haven't done it already. Tell your friends about Battle Streams. And if you are interested in joining the coolest Hobbit community in the world, the link to our Patreon is down below. Our Patreon community is amazing. They literally help me keep the lights on here. I appreciate each and every one of you so much. And we've made a wonderful sub-community within the community of real kind of fun and hobby positivity. So if you like what goes on here in my hobby vlogs and what goes on the live streams, then if you're interested in reaching out and joining the Patreon, that would be awesome. Thank you all. I hope everyone's well, and I'll see you very soon on Battle Streams in Middle Earth.